What's up, guys? Doug Polk here, and welcome back to another episode of Poker Hands. I know it's been a hot minute since we did a vid, but when I saw this hand that happened in the Bahamas, I knew I had to fire up some poker hands. Now, some of you might already know what hand we're going to look at today because it has been causing a stir in the poker scene. I am, of course, talking about the hand that happened between Tywin and... They don't make this easy. I'm excited to get into this sick hand, but before we do, I gotta let you guys know that this hand happened in an outer table. That means that the camera work is rather shoddy, and unfortunately there are no hole cards and graphics to spice things up a little bit. But luckily here at Poker News Productions, we do have the technology needed in order to make that happen, so let's go ahead and jump into the action.
So it starts with a raise from Polychronopoulos pre-flop. Called by Win on the button.
Our hand begins at 3,000, 6,000 chip blinds, and the action folding to the button, and Win looks down at ace-queen. Now, we're pre-money in the 25K, but the bubble is not too far away. It's certainly something to maybe think about a little bit as we progress in this hand. Anyway, ace-queen, obviously going to open up in the button. She does for min. We're assuming a little bit here pre because we don't have the footage. And then over to Polychronopoulos in the big blind, who looks down at the aces. That one's going to go ahead and bump it up. He makes it 37,000 to go. Back over to Win with ace-queen. I definitely like a call here. I don't mind maybe 4-betting in maybe a little bit more shallow stack type situation, or in the money where it's not going to be as bad for you when you do get coolered. I think in this spot, I definitely like a flat, which she decides to make, and let's take a flop.
So king, queen, 9, 2-spade flop. Action goes check, check.
The flop comes king, queen, 9 with 2 spades. A bit of an interesting board. Ace is still in the lead, but not a flop Aces is super pumped about. Now, if the button had a hand like jack 10, king, queen, king 9 suited, queen 9 suited, or 9s, well, all of those hands have moved into the lead. But overall, on average, you are still ahead here with the aces. My main play here with aces would be to bet small, because in this situation, you're still very far ahead of them, and you could get some value. However, if this is a situation you think players might play way too tight, you might want to work in some checks more often, and certainly every now and then a check is pretty good. Polychronopoulos does decide to go ahead and set the trap and checks it over. Now with ace-queen, this is actually a little bit similar in the analysis to the aces, but a bit more of a check. Yeah, you could maybe bet here, get some value from hands like jacks or 10s or 10-9 suited or queen-jack suited, but there are certainly some hands that could be ahead of you, like aces, or maybe if a weak king checked, or possibly if Polychronopoulos is looking to check raise. So I think pot control is probably my favorite line. She does decide to check it back, and let's take a turn.
Turn card. It's the queen of hearts pairing the board. And after Polychronopoulos checked, Win bet. There's a call.
The turn comes another queen, moving Win into the lead with 3 of a kind. And in fact, because her kicker is an ace, there's now only 1 card left in the deck that can move aces into the lead against ace-queen. So at this point, it looks like she's certainly going to triumph. With aces here, I once again can get behind betting small or checking. I think I mainly lean towards a small bet, but don't mind checking to work in a couple of traps here. If your opponent gets feisty, it's nice to have hands like aces so that you can call them down. And so if I do check, I'm looking to go the distance. Polychronopoulos checks it over to Win, and now with 3 of a kind, you gotta bet. The question is, how big are we looking to go? She decides to go for a 17K chip bet into a pot that's around 70,000. I think this is maybe a little bit too small. Yeah, it opens the door for you to get some thin value if maybe you wanted to bet a hand like 10s or maybe a hand like ace-9 suited to check the river. There may be a few hands that could benefit from this bet size, but overall, I think I would prefer to bet on the bigger side. If you bet this turn and fire the river, well, you're saying you have 3 of a kind, and it's not too likely the big blind has that hand as well. So really, the big blind's going to have a bluff catcher, and you've got a good hand. In those spots, I like putting my foot in the gas. Cool thing about this spot is, though, if you bet the turn, you can fire the river as large as you want. So maybe she's just setting up a small turn bet into a large river one. We're going to find out, because after she does bet, Polychronopoulos makes the call, and let's take a river.
And the river card is the ace of spades. Straighty, flushy, paired board. Check. bet.
All in. Whoa.
All in.
Couple stacks of blue there. He's got her covered.
So the river is the final ace in the deck. Both players now have full houses. The question is, how is Win going to get stacked? This is not a spot you're going to be able to get away from. Polychronopoulos does check. You're not going to want to work in any leads here. It would be a spot that if you did lead with a hand like aces, that might be fun. But your opponent is saying that they have a good hand on the turn. You want to give them a chance to keep either telling that story or to bet with a queen in their hand. Now, for Win, the question is size, and she decides to go for something that looks to be around half pot. I think I would like to go a bit of a bigger size. I don't mind on this river specifically picking the smaller size because an ace will kill your action against maybe some hands like 10-9 suited or jacks or king 10. These types of hands might be able to find a fold that couldn't on earlier streets, but I still think I'd like to go a size more around full pot, try and get some value with my full house. That's right, on the river I tend to like a strategy of bet really big with good hands. This is some advanced stuff. Back over to Polychronopoulos, and now it's all about acting. He's got to make this seem like it's a tough spot, but he's going to move in. What should he do? Should he move in? Should he fold? Should he call? Oh, they're all, I guess I'm all in. Back over to Win, and there's nothing she can do here. Her hands are tied. There's no way anyone can lay this down. Or can they? Because this might be where you online nerds might learn a thing or two. The game of poker is played at a table with chips and cards. And the people that play this game the best are the ones that can look at their opponent and know exactly what they're up to. Those are the people we should strive to be like. You want to be people like this, knowing when to make a read, when to put them on top.
I thought you had pocket kings.
Or maybe like this, loose and splashy, but know when to make a read, sometimes, also other times, not. Who are your heroes? Who are you striving to be? I'll tell you what, it's not that nerd with a calculator. It's not that guy who spent 2,000 hours doing solver work to prepare for his live tournament. No. That guy's a scared little bitch. And what kind of poker player are you? You a man? Or a woman? Because if you're one of those, maybe you don't want to go with the Sims. Maybe you don't want to go with balance. Or do we go with our hearts and our instincts? Because besides taking thousands less hours to do that, it also feels right and feels good. And that's why we play poker. To feel good. So, nerds out there with your ranges and whatever, maybe you can't raise, call, or fold here. And maybe you should just fold.
Clearly a big decision.
I like the intense camera angles, the zooming in, changing.
Dramatic zoom.
And she folds ace queen.
Full house.
No, seriously though, just call and get stacked here. If you're interested in learning more about calling and getting stacked repeatedly, I have to recommend my training site, upswingpoker.com, where you'll find the latest and greatest strategies to make sure that you play correct theoretical poker that will repeatedly get you stacked when they have a higher boat than yours. I'll put a link in the description below.